Good afternoon, everyone. This is Rev Gina, and I am blessed to be here with you on finding the joy in the journey. What a gift it is to be here today with you. Last Thursday, I missed you on Thanksgiving, and I hope you had a wonderful day. And it was filled with all of your most favorite people and things. So here we are on finding the joy in the journey, and I have a wonderful guest today, and I can't wait to share her with you. But for those of you that are new here and have never heard of this, or maybe just happened upon us today, just know that with this show, we are finding you greater and new ways to have more joy now. See, the thing is, most of us live our life from the outside. So we're waiting for things to happen to be happy. When the truth is, joy is something that resides on the inside. It's always there, it's always accessible. No matter what mood you may be in, you hear a child laugh and you will laugh. Therefore, it always exists. So you have the ability to tap into that. And this show is about creating new ways to tap into that inner joy at any given moment. Unfortunately, too many people live their life, well, when this happens, then I'll be happy. What I call destination happiness. When the truth is, you can at any moment take a look. If we were climbing a mountain, every step of it is beautiful. You don't just wait till you get to the top. You'll miss the views along the way. So let's be right here, right now. And I have this wonderful guest that is going to help us do just that. Today, our guest is a wonderful woman who has turned her life around and helped hundreds of women turn their lives around. She is a motivational speaker, a coach. She has a wonderful podcast that broadcasts daily. She is introducing people to the right places, the right times, it's amazing the energy that she has. And when I tell you, she has this incredible ability to just tap right into that empowerment. And let's bring her in right now. I am so grateful to have Sabrina Victoria here with me today. What a gift it is. Welcome, Sabrina. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. And I loved your intro. So fun.
You know, life is meant to be, it's not just, we use the term happy. Yes, we all want to be happy, but joy exists always. See, what we believe in our teachings is joy is an inherent quality of divine, and that each one of us is that divine. Each one of us is that stardust wrapped in skin. And, that means it's all there. So let's tap into that right here and now. So you have been, you are just a dynamo with what you have going on in life. Yes, she has 1,000 members to her nation. And, I need you to start there. I want you to tell us, what is Her Nation, this movement to empower women? What is it that you're doing?
So Her Nation actually stemmed from, Her Nation just kind of happened. I wasn't even trying. I had started a podcast. My podcast is called Her Version, and it was all about my story. It was just me telling my story and the stuff that I've been through. I've been through a lot. And as I was telling my story over a duration of months or whatever it was, women started coming out of the woodwork and just saying, oh my gosh, your story is my story. And thank you so much for sharing your story. Or I can relate so much to your story. Your story gave me so much hope and so much inspiration. And as I'm listening to these women's stories, I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, there are women warriors all over the place that are doing these magnificent things in their life silently. Nobody even knows that they're doing these things. Just like nobody knew my story until I started telling my story. And so I started to invite just these random women on, these complete strangers, onto my my platform, my little YouTube channel called Her Version, and I started allowing them to share their story. And then I was just growing such an attachment towards somebody's like, I want you to be my friend. So I'm like, where can we put all these women? Where can we put them all? So I went to Facebook and I opened up a group called Her Nation. And we've been slowly growing organically into this just beautiful container of women who are all about rising and all about stepping into their new power and their new voice and their new confidence and coming out of the darkness and into the light. And all of us helping each other rise. And predominantly, what I talk about so much in and amongst that area is storytelling and the importance of women like yourself who allow us to come on and share some of our stories so that other people, other women, or people can have aha moments in their life to recognize, like, I'm not the only one.
Absolutely. And it's also a wonderful thing to have women helping women. That it's a platform of just support, which is wonderful. It is an entire network of women that are there to help and lift women. And, unfortunately, our society doesn't always work that way. It's almost as if at times it feels like we're pinned against each other, like we're supposed to compare, what we look like or what we're doing in the world. And that's each other in general, not just women against women, but especially, I think I personally believe part of that is because we compare ourselves to, well, my mom used to do this, this, and this. My grandmother would have dinner for 8 and this, but they weren't doing it with full-time jobs. They weren't doing it with 2 jobs plus children. They weren't doing it with all of the things that are happening in life now.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how we've grown up, many of us, comparing ourselves and expecting ourselves to be living 2 lives and wondering why, we're not feeling like we're mastering it, because we're trying to be something that's impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. It does feel impossible sometimes.
And it's because no one person is supposed to do all that.
Yeah.
It's about being realistic. That's the whole thing. And it doesn't mean that we're not capable of amazing things, but sometimes our expectations on ourselves are setting ourselves up to fail.
100.
So I know we don't have time to get into your whole story, and I'd love to have you on another time to tell your fabulous story. But really, the short version, what brought you to do this?
Yeah. So I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. Everything was fine until I became pregnant at the age of 20 with no husband. So that was a huge turning point for my life. If you know anything about Jehovah's Witnesses, when you sin, it's not just a little chit chat with, a heavenly father or with a priest or anything. They have really big repercussions or consequences for that. So I was what's called disfellowshipped, which means over a course of 48 to 72 hours, I lost contact with my entire family and the only community I'd ever known. And I led a very stereotypical single mom life of no money, working a minimum wage job. Baby daddy was out of the picture. And the kind of broke I was a rolling balance of about a negative $178 in my bank account at any given moment. And then digging in my couch cushions for 42 cents so that I could drive to the gas station, put gas in my car, get back in my car, and it's still on empty. So it was just a constant state of anxiety, despair, sinfulness, unworthiness, and wanting to commit suicide, wanting to die, wanting to murder my baby, dealing with postpartum, just all the things that go along with having a baby, being a single mom, and just a sinner. So within a very short amount of time, I doing all the things that I thought I had to do. I wound up meeting a man maybe a year or 2 in who had red flags stapled all over his body. And I was just so desperate for attention, just so desperate for anybody to show me any sort of affection. I ignored all the signs. and I started, I guess, dating him. And through maybe a year or two, he convinced me to get rid of my place, move in with him, get rid of my job, start working for him, get rid of my phone, use his phone, get rid of my car, use his car. And I wound up becoming a prisoner, basically a prisoner of his world. The mental abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, financial abuse was abundant. It got worse and worse and worse over the years. Finally, 8 years in, I'm on the floor in the bathroom in the dark, literally bawling my eyes out, having a complete mental breakdown just from all of this craziness that was going on. I felt like I didn't know myself. I felt like I was lost. I felt like I was hopeless. I felt like there was no way out of this prison. And I took out my phone and I did a Google search. I always say that Google saved my life. I Googled, why is my boyfriend bullying me? And Google told me that I was in a toxic relationship, a narcissistic relationship. It told me that I was a codependent, that I had high empathetic vibes. And not only was my partner totally screwed up in the head, but I was also screwed up in the head. So I dove headfirst into personal development. I opened up a secret bank account, a secret storage unit. I started 3 online businesses secretly, and I started leading a double life, unfortunately. But it was survival mode. I had to do that. So I was leading this one life of being this, this wife that was verbally and emotionally abused consistently every single day. And then this other woman who was becoming this powerful, confident, wealthy individual. Took me 4 years. Over the course of 4 years, I collected $50,000, which felt like a million to me. And I literally escaped. I walked out just one random day with my son, our clothes, and my bicycle. And I started completely over again with a mattress on the floor. I've never worked for anybody since. The tenacity that it took to do all of those things, endure that relationship, and get out of that relationship has forged me forward to the life I'm leading now.
Amazing. Amazing.
Thank you.
And I want people to know that this is how they can get a hold of you. The best way to reach you, hernation.life has all of your contact information, and they can sign in and sign up for that as well. Also, Facebook, they can find you on. I want to make sure they know that. And, the fact that you had the wherewithal to do that, I mean, to just Google and then read and then take it in and realize, okay, well, there's something to this. And how do I do it? And what is next? And I applaud your tenacity and there's so much to that. And I'm sure that there are people out there that are listening to this and thinking, how do in those moments, a step out of any kind is overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it's important to hear people that have come from the depths of and stepping into the world again. You get to restart. No one's telling you it's easy, but at any given moment in your life, you get to start again. It's so important that people realize that this is not what, where we are today, we created. We created, whether it was consciously, unconsciously, not knowing any different, we created. We attracted, whatever you want to consider it. Yes. And now what? So what we think now, what we do now, we now have the choice of what happens next. And I think it is so important that people realize that they get a choice of what happens next at any given moment. And how do you help people to recognize that?
Well, I really loved what you said at the beginning, which is I just adored your intro here. I could really see the visual of the mountain. Like, people don't want to find happiness or enjoy their life until they're at the top of the mountain. And once they're at the top of the mountain, then they'll enjoy their life. And that's a concept that I actually teach, when I'm speaking or with my clients, as far as the have, do, be concept. There's this thought process where we have to have all the things before we can become the person we want to become. So in my situation, the story that I told, being a single mom, how do you get to a point where you are a successful mom if you're looking around at what you have and you have nothing, right? So how do I become something if I have nothing? How do I become wealthy or have money or be able to take care of my son if I have no money. So this concept of people starting with have, hoping to get to be, and it's just not a thing. You can't get from there to there. So what I talk about is flipping it on its backside and starting with be. Who do you have to be? And then what do you have to do in order to have the life that you want to have? So when I was leaving my abuser, I had to become somebody. I had to all of a sudden become a person that was okay with living on 4 hours of sleep because I was leading 2 lives. I had to become somebody that was okay with doing tons and tons of research and reading and watching and learning. I had to become somebody who was who never gave up, who still strived for this thought that I had, despite what my spouse was telling me, that I was stupid or that I was dumb or that I couldn't do it or that I was not smart because I never went to college. I had to become all of these people, all of this thing, and then I had to do a bunch of stuff. You have to like do things. You have to take action. And then once it starts to flow, where you step into that person who you're becoming, you start doing the things that that person would start to do. Then all of a sudden you look around and you'll have the things that you've always wanted to have. And that's the concept that I teach. And that's the exact same concept that got me to where I am now, is not what do I have? It's not about what you have. It's about who are you willing to become? What are you willing to do in order to get what you want to have?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I too, I think that too many people are caught up in that destination happiness. Well, I can't enjoy the process. I can't, there's no concept of today is enough.
Yeah.
And being where you are. And I love the concept of being versus doing so much, because, we are human beings. We are not human doings.
Mhm.
And it's so important. I mean, for me, my prayer is always, what would you have me be? It's really being in an understanding that I have to be and then do, not just keep doing, because otherwise I'm chasing my tail. I love, when I see people at a gym on a treadmill and you see these people lined up and they're all running on a treadmill. I think that's such an analogy of what we see in our lives out in the world every day. Everybody's doing the same thing over and over again. And, to me, one of the saddest things is when I hear people say, same crap, different day.
Yeah.
It's only that way if you make it that way. We
100.
get to choose differently. And you chose differently. You chose to live differently. And it's not about easy or hard, because the truth is, living in the hell you were living in was excruciating.
Mhm.
But stepping into the unknown can be scary. So it's learning how to find your tribe also. Because one of the blessings of your your platform is you give an opportunity for people to meet other people. Women can meet other women that are doing what they choose to be doing. And I know you're very proud of your mastermind group, which is it's female entrepreneurs. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest issues that I had was lack of money. One of the things that my abuser used to say to me consistently, because he conveniently made it so that I made no money, even though I was working 14 to 16 hours a day for his business, is whenever I would start to get a little mouthy or have an opinion, he would say things like, whoever has all the money has all the power. Do you have any money? Or he would say, whoever makes all the money makes all the rules. Do you have any money? And it's a very disempowering place to be when all you're trying to do is just be a human. You're just trying to live. You're just trying to have an opinion. You're just trying to have a choice. And that is taken away from you because of a lack in an area. And so I dove headfirst when I started to decide that I was going to take control of my life. I dove headfirst into how to never be in that position again, and how to have choice and how to have freedom. And one of the best ways to do that, I have found, is through collecting money. I like to collect money. So that's what I do. I teach other women how to have heart-centered businesses, how to help other people, how to flourish in their businesses, how to speak authentically and lovingly and proudly and powerfully about what they do, to everybody, to the world, to their community, in order to collect their own money, in order to have their own freedom and their own choices. Because when you have that, when you have the ability to be able to look around and say, hey, I don't have to endure this situation anymore because I have the ability to be able to move about in my world freely. It's a really, really good feeling. So her mastermind is something that I'm super passionate about. It's filled with female entrepreneurs. We talk all about confidence, power. We talk about getting your business up and running. We talk about the struggles that a lot of women have as far as limiting beliefs around not wanting to ask for money, feeling as if they're unworthy. Imposter syndrome is a huge one that a lot of women deal with. All things that I've endured, all things that I went through, all fears that I had as I was working my way out of that relationship that I was in.
Can you speak on imposter syndrome?
Yeah, imposter syndrome is a huge one. It's this constant cycle of needing more education before they're worthy of teaching, before they're worthy of collecting money on all the stuff that they know. I've met so many women that literally have like so many degrees. They've got like master over master over master and certificates just coming out of the woodwork, so many certificates in all of the areas, and still not feeling worthy. And the question that I always ask all the time is just when? Like, when will it? At what point? Because you have to have an end. Like, there has to be a point where you're going to take what you know and then you're going to feel comfortable teaching it to your world. And when you really ask that question of, okay, I get that it's not now. I get that. I hear you. I hear what you're saying as far as you're not comfortable yet. You need a little bit more, but just tell me when. And it's so interesting when you say that, because when you say that to somebody, they sit and they smile because they're like, oh shit, there is no when. There isn't. It's going to be forever. It's going to be forever. So why not just start now? Why not just start now? So, getting over just those bumps and those hurdles of you are good enough and you are capable. And even just your story is enough, for people to learn from and to get inspired from and to get motivated from in order to take that next step in their life out of that relationship or out of that job or that career or into a career, into entrepreneurship, or to get married or to get divorced or to have a baby or not have a baby. There's so many decisions. And there's so much knowing that we don't know. And we need your help. We need your help because you know things that I don't know.
And I think it's so important to remember you're not alone in the world. Even when it feels like you are, you don't have to have a tribe that you're born into. You can create your own. And many people do. You realize that, this works or this doesn't work for me. Now what? And that's really all life is now what? And it's coming to a place of doing the next right thing. And you've done a lot of next right things and you help other people do that. And I appreciate that, through your coaching. And I mean, you're an author, you've got your podcast, and your podcast to me is very exciting. And I love that it's daily content. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, when I first started, like I said, it was just mine. Her version was me. I was her. And I was just sharing my version of my story. I felt very uncomfortable telling my story because my version of my story is different than my ex-church's version, than my parents' version, than my ex's version, than baby daddy version. It's different. They have their version, I have my version. And I needed to feel comfortable telling my story though, because I knew that it would inspire some people. So I was like, what a better title to have than, hey, this is just my version. You can have your own thing and you can have your version of your story, but this is my version and this deserves a place. I deserve to be able to tell my perspective, my story. So that's kind of just how it started. It literally just started as me telling my story. And I soon opened it up to people. I was doing it once a week, then twice a week, then 3 times a week. And then I had a conversation with a woman after the podcast, probably like 4 months ago. And she was like, "How often do you do this?" And I was like, 3 times a week. She's like, "Oh my gosh, that's insane." And I was like, "I love it. I learn so much." Like, Gina, you were on my podcast. I just learn so much when I hear the way other people live, the way they think, the way that they've inspired their world, the things that they're doing in the world, and it helps me. And I was like, I would do this every single day if I could. And she goes, "Well, why don't you?" And I'm like, "Well, time. It takes a lot of time." And she's like, "Do it." She's like, "I can tell that it's just a sparkle in you. Do it every single day. And then if it doesn't suit you anymore, if you can't do it anymore, then just stop it. You have a calendar, just stop it and go back to 3 or 2 or 1." So I was like, okay. So I sat on it for a couple of days. I sat on it for maybe 2 or 3 days. And I'm like, you know what? I opened up my calendar. And it's filled 5 days a week. I absolutely love what I do. I love speaking to these women. I think that it's unfortunate that women don't have more of a presence. One of the passions that I have as far as doing what I do is when I was in my darkest time, one of the things that I would do to really keep myself focused on my dreams and my journey out of my situation was I would Google inspiring stories or inspirational speakers or motivational speakers. And at that time, right, that was a while ago now, but at that time, it would be 73 men, 73 white men before you would hit an African American, an Asian, or a woman, besides Les Brown. Les Brown was pretty high up there. And I was like, this is so unfortunate. Where are all the women at? I am a woman struggling. I need to hear a woman's perspective. So sorry to say, but the reason that I got out of my situation was predominantly men. Listening to men. I listened to men to get out of my situation predominantly. And I promised myself, I didn't know it was going to be through a podcast, but I promised myself. I still have the screenshot somewhere of these men, just loads and loads of men before there's a woman. I still have it somewhere and I'm going to find it one of these days. But I promised myself that I would somehow create a platform where women could speak. I didn't know what it would look like. I didn't even really know about podcasting, where women could speak and share their stories so that we can start to fill those numbers up on that ranking so that women who are struggling, that are listening, looking for a woman's voice, a woman's story, a woman's perspective, could then be able to find her. So that's my thought process now. That's where I'm at now. That's where I've evolved to, is I'm collecting women and I am helping them rise. I'm helping them meet other women. Like, hey, you come onto my podcast. I see that you would link well with these other women. I connect because when we start connecting, that's how we start rising.
And I appreciate that you have succeeded and continue to succeed at what that goal is. It has been a gift to talk to you today. And I know you have another commitment and you are off and running. And we just so appreciate you being here today. And I encourage people to make sure they check you out. They can go to, again, the best way to reach you is hernation.life. And you can check out Sabrina Victoria also on Facebook, her personal as well as, your Her Nation. It is a gift to be here with you today. And I look forward to having you on again sometime soon.
Yes.
You have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Many blessings.
Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
So that is one amazing woman doing some incredible things in the world. And it is so important that we remember that every time we see someone doing amazing things, that it's not saying, well, I don't do that or I couldn't do that, because of course you could. You're not meant to do exactly what anybody else is doing. You're meant to do your thing your way. So these are catalysts to say, okay, well, what would I love? What would I love to do? What would bring me joy? And if there is a circumstance that's in your life that you choose to be different, what does that look like? If you can't fathom a way for that to change, then get help. The gift is there is help all around. I do love and appreciate the point. Well, I don't love what the point is, but the fact that there aren't a lot of women motivational speakers compared to what there were in men. It's so much more than it was 10 years ago. It is like night and day to that. And we can also do better. The more of us that find our voice, the greater the opportunity to be that out in the world. So we are live, and I would love to have you any questions that you may have, and anything that you have for Sabrina Victoria. I'll make sure she gets them and gets back to you, or I can. But if there's any questions or comments on the topic of empowerment, and I know we've been talking a lot today about female empowerment, but empowerment is definitely doesn't matter what gender you choose to identify as or not at all. Regardless, anyone and everyone needs empowerment. So I ask you, what are your practices? See, everything in life is a practice. Everything, we're trying something new. It's always an experiment. So what are your practices to bring more joy into your life? Do you have any checks and balances in your life to say, okay, where is the balance? I was working with someone this week, and they speak about work most of the time. And I said, how is your work-life balance going? What does that look like? Are you comfortable with that? And without hesitation, she said, no, there isn't one. And I said, well, what does that mean? What does that look like? So I encourage you to think about that. What is your work, home, playtime balance like? Are you living life, or are you existing in life? We talk about finding the joy in the journey. Yes, you may have a job that you love, and that's wonderful. And you are bringing that into the world, and that's wonderful. And there's got to be a recuperation. When do you regenerate? Oftentimes as we're working, we're giving away. Where is it that we get back, that we remain full to be able to give from the overflow rather than the source, so that we don't become depleted? Because that kind of depletion then puts us at a place of vulnerability, whether that's to dis-ease, or it could be, grief, overwhelmment, stress, whatever it is that it may be. We get a choice in how we live our lives. And I ask you, are you living a work home life balance? And what does that look like for you? How do you check in on that? When we have relationships, oftentimes we get into relationships, and, we meet someone, if we're blessed enough to fall in love, that's the most important thing. And then the busier we get, and we wonder why 5 or 10 years later, sometimes it doesn't feel like it used to. Well, am I giving the same intention to it? Am I giving the same priority to that relationship? Anything and everything needs to be nurtured. So if I expect it to be important and stay important, I have to treat it that way. We need to make sure that what's important in our life gets the time that it needs to stay important in our lives. And it's easy to say sometimes, but we don't always do it, especially this time of year. And I want to chat a little bit about that today. This is the holiday season. Today is December 1st, and we are officially here in the midst of it all. We've already had Thanksgiving, and now we're going into a bunch of different holidays. And it's important to remember that there are different people that feel a whole different way about it than you may. Plus, minus, whether they feel great, whether they don't, it's not about judging the feelings. It's just simply being empathetic to the people around us. Let's remember to remember. There are people that we work with that may be extremely overwhelmed. There are people, who knows, single mothers or, plenty of people that are trying to do the best that they can just to get by. And now it's the holiday season and they were already strapped for cash and barely paying their bills. So it's important to do what you can when you can. When we give away, it's giving again from our overflow. It doesn't need to be our source, but that gift can mean 10 times more to the person you gave it to. It also says that they matter. How are you empowering and loving the people in your life, but also others? What are you giving to the world? There are wonderful programs like Toys for Tots or different types of programs where you can donate to a homeless shelter, or you can donate to families in need, whatever it may be. If you have enough, isn't it a gift to recognize that? Best way to be appreciative of that is to give something, and whatever that may be. And that may be your time. Even if you don't have the treasure financially, if you can, go and help feed the homeless. Look someone in the eye and to have a conversation with them. Make sure that they know that they matter. If you're living in a place where there is a high homeless population, bring socks with you. Do you know that's the one thing they need most of all is socks? So do that. Have some clean socks with you and give them little care packages. I know our church, at one point, our center had a bunch of backpacks with just some toiletries, some general toiletries put together. There's things that we can do, some big, some small, and you would be amazed how far that can go. But I know that anything that we give away comes back tenfold, especially in the giving of it. This is a season meant for joy. And some people experience that, and that's wonderful. Others don't. There may be people that are missing their loved ones, people that were here and are no longer on this plane. And I believe that life is eternal. I do believe that there is no gone, that, we are here, and that every bit of our loved ones, although not in physical form, they don't go anywhere because there's only one. So if you know someone that has experienced loss, especially recent, reach out to them. Send a card. For me, part of why I'm sensitive to it is because I've had the experience of, I grew up in a very big Italian family, and most of them are no longer on this plane. And holidays bring it up more than anything. So I encourage you to reach out to people. And if you know, especially if it's a recent loss, just ask, how are you? Or send a card and let them know I'm thinking of you, sending you love. So many people don't do something because they're afraid of doing the wrong thing. They don't know what to say, so they say nothing. The most important thing you can do in reaching out to people is just let them know that they matter. Let them know that you're thinking of them and that you're sending them love. May they be, lifted by divine grace. Whatever words come to you, find a card of encouragement, whatever it may be. You can go to the dollar store and 2 for $1, or I guess these days it's 2 for $1.25. You can get just a thought that you can send to people, that I'm thinking of you. It's important that we remember what's important to us. We live in a society of bigger, better, faster, more. And often it's about accomplishing, getting more done. The most important thing, I believe, is the inside stuff. Who you are. What you do is a reflection of who you are. What you spend your time on is a reflection of who you are. And you get that choice. So I encourage you to appreciate where you are, how you are, and be honest about it, even if it's not in the best of ways. I reached out to someone earlier this week with that. And within 10 minutes, I was in such a better mood. And I was so grateful that I called. Get in the habit of reaching out and asking for what you need. And if you're not sure what you need, reach out anyway. Too many people isolate this time of year, and it only makes things worse. The more we focus on a thing, the thing gets bigger, even when we don't have words for it. So I encourage you to watch your mental and spiritual condition, have your routines, and do check-ins on yourself, but also on others that you love. Give people a call and say, how are you doing? Just thinking of you. Especially if you have any elderly family members, people that are, you used to work and have that whole environment and don't anymore. Maybe they're busy and loving life, and that's wonderful to hear because that's what you look forward to. And if they're not, help them, encourage them, be with them, or say nothing, just be with them. Even just your presence and your voice makes a difference. I truly believe that, when we are complete on this plane, all that we leave behind is our love. It's our love and our experience. So all of the kindness that we did for people, that's what's remembered. So leave it all here. Leave that love here. And if there's something that you need, make sure that you reach out as well. Too often people don't know how you're feeling. And even though we say, well, they should know, we're not mind readers. We all think we are, but we're not mind readers. So reach out to people. Build your own community. One of the things that I loved about Sabrina Victoria, and if you happen to just come on and you missed her, I encourage you to go back and listen to the podcast again, because she's an amazing woman who wasn't happy with life, so she did something different. And she kept doing something different until she had the life she chose. You get that opportunity on any given moment to choose the direction you're going in. Life is this is your book, your story. You're creating it, you're writing it, you're the author, and you're the hero or heroine. And I encourage you to remember that, yes, you are amazing and well capable. And if you have a hard time, reach out. And you can reach out to me, even if there's a question or anything that I can help you with. You can find me on Facebook. You can email me at gina@cslboston.org. And I also do coaching or one-on-ones, or even just for a prayer request. You're welcome to send me a prayer request. And no, we also have a prayer team, which is prayer@ntmedia.org. Again, prayer@ntmedia.org. And that we are here 8:15 a.m. and p.m. Mountain Time to be able to pray with you and for you. But you can send an email anytime. You have a community of people right here on New Thought Media Network that are here to help bring more joy and peace into your world. So stay tuned. On this network, we have amazing things. And I encourage you to, take a look at ntmedia.org, and you'll see the amazing lineup that we have going. And, even just today, right after me, there's CSL on the Lake, but there's all kinds of different shows all week long. We are here also on Facebook. You can go back either Facebook or YouTube and watch some old episodes. So very exciting. Actually, today is Thursday, giving you the Monday schedule. Sorry, having two shows does that. So the Vibrant Living Hour with Ken Legway is right after me. And, there's so much good on this network. I'm also part of CSL Greater Boston. I am the spiritual leader there. And tonight we have at 7 p.m. Eastern time, we have our Sacred Circle at 7. And many of you may recognize Reverend Sherry Johnson. She is actually, she is part of CSL Greater Boston on our leadership council. She handles our visioning, and she's going to be running this hour tonight. The topic she's chosen is intention versus resolution. And this is the meeting code and ID, or you can take a look at cslboston.org, and there's a link on the website to join us. And again, every Thursday night, it's Thursday's Sacred Circle at 7 p.m. And again, that's Eastern time. You can join us for sacred spiritual conversation and beloved community. And it's always a different topic and a different leader. So there's so much opportunity to find good, and I encourage you to do just that. Know that you are important, that you are magical, and that anything is possible. And know that there are people here like myself and many others that can help, and that we'd love to know and pray for you, whatever it is you need. So thank you for being here on this hour of finding the joy in the journey. And again, I encourage you to, go to Sabrina Victoria and go to her site, take a look at hernation.life, and take a look at her on Facebook as well. She's amazing. And I can't wait to hear your story on her platform as well. You are a blessing, and I am so grateful that you're here with us. And I can't wait to have you back next Thursday on Finding the Joy in the Journey. Until then, have fun, be blessed, and have a fabulous day. Namaste.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network, come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings.